Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Droning On with Altius Images. I'm Todd Dudley and I'm the founder and director of Altius Images, and in this Droning On series I will be interviewing people in the drone industry. Today I'm delighted to be chatting to the CEO and founder of Dronestream, Harry Howe. Enjoy the podcast. And I'm really pleased to say that we've got Harry Howe with us here today. Harry, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, very well.
Good. So Harry, if you could just introduce yourself slightly, just tell us who you are and what you do, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm Harry Howe, CEO of Dronestream, which is a platform that allows drone pilots to collaborate with their team or organization. My background was I was originally in the NHS. I was sort of really driven towards automation and software solutions in order to just basically make everyone's lives easier. Push that into other aspects of the private pharmaceutical companies as well. And my true passion, which is, of course, drone technology, I thought, well, it's time to push those skills into that sector. So that's how Dronestream was born, basically.
Fantastic, sounds good. We'll dive into Dronestream in a bit more detail later on. But what was it that made you sort of started your passion for drones, and how long ago was that?
Yeah, it's ever since I was a kid, really, because my family, we used to sort of go on day trips to fly the remote control planes, and this was before the time of drones, and we always used to mock the fact that any Howe flying machine never really worked. And then, when technology sort of moved forward and better model aircraft, better and drones came into the mix as well. It's you as a kid, you start to, with an extremely overactive imagination, you start to think, wow, you could use this for that, you could use it for deliveries and things like this. So ever since a young age, I've always thought drone technology was the way forward. And then as I sort of grew up into my early teens, early 20s, I moved to London, and I started to look at potentially creating a drone hardware company, and it progressed. I was looking at what sort of advantages we would have over other manufacturers, and I went to meet a professor at Imperial College, and he showed me it was a DJI Phantom One. No, sorry, it wasn't a Phantom. Inspire One.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, if you're to compete in the hardware space, you've got to compete with the likes of this. And when I realized the progress that DJI had made, I thought, well, software is probably the more sensible way forward, unless you've got an extreme level of financial backing. That's how it really evolved.
Nice. So you're very much into the sort of hardware, software, tech kind of vibe, rather than just flying drones, because you can get some pretty pictures and that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. The thing is with me, I really like the idea of simplifying people's lives
Nice.
with automation. So, we now take for granted the smartphone, tablets, things like this. You can just pull out a device, send a quick email, and that time saved is time that you can spend on other things. And the more if we can pull a lot of effort, a lot of hard work from people and offload it onto technology, then it frees us up to spend more time with family, work more, which means that it's not only a financial saving, but it's it's health, well-being, it's the savings, limitless.
It's a fantastic approach to take, I think. So that leads us nicely into Dronestream in a bit more detail then. So you explained briefly what it is. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what it is for anyone that hasn't heard of it just yet?
Yeah, sure. So as I said before, Dronestream, it's a platform that allows drone pilots to collaborate with the rest of their team or organization, and that will be remotely via any device with an internet connection, effectively. The core features include low latency live streaming. That's at the very heart of it. And that will be from the drone to mobile apps or a desktop portal. And that's coupled with a messenger in order to enable communication between the pilot and the viewer. And of course, the map that shows the location and orientation of the drone. So, it sort of relieves that pressure from the pilot in order to feedback exactly what they're seeing, you can now bring others into the same window that the pilot is privy to.
It's a brilliant idea, and explained very well by yourself there. Why do you think it was and is needed? What was sort of lacking from the software that's out there already that you thought this was a good gap for you?
Well, when I first started looking into this, I was actually flying drones commercially myself for film and media, and one thing I noticed, as I'm sure you do, and anyone who's flown drones commercially, is that if you've got multiple people on site that need to see the video, your options are limited. You've got potentially giving them sort of a paired co-pilot controller. You've given them quite an expensive piece of kit to perhaps just leave in a muddy field. There's also there's live streaming to straight out of the box, YouTube or Facebook, or you can tether that to a television via HDMI cable. And none of those really worked for me. And I thought, well, I'm trying to look as professional as possible here in front of a film director. And you think, well, I haven't quite got the budget to buy, really expensive equipment in order to tether it to their screens back on the other side of the field, for instance. And there was one particular incident where we were actually on a boat, and the director was on an opposing rib boat. And I thought, well, we got perfect 4G signal, and what would be great is if they could just open a mobile app, and with minimal setup, they could punch straight into the video feed. So the other reasons why I thought this was needed industry wide was the pilot performs a flight when they're actually flying this commercially. They're responsible for the drone's safe conduct, and they're also looking out for weather conditions, people are entering the landing area, airspace, all on top of keeping the others perhaps up to date on an unfolding situation, if you're thinking about that in a public safety environment. In private security as well. They also utilize drones for roughly the same sort of reasons, whereby the real-time data is essential. People crowding around a single pilot, it just adds a lot of pressure that we want to try and avoid. So what we wanted to do is lift that pressure away from the pilot and put other members of perhaps an organization or a team in the loop, and to do that as effortlessly as possible, so the pilot can concentrate on performing the flight safely.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I don't want to hype you up too much, but it's a brilliant idea. There's obviously as many uses as you can kind of think of, but where do you see it being used in particular?
I think the main interest we've experienced is from the public safety environment, and construction sectors as well, because public safety and private security, it's all about real time. It's all about what's happening now, the pilot is under a lot of strain, and for long periods of time as well. And in the construction sector, it's all about driving down costs, reducing waste. So if you're sending a pilot over to perhaps another country to survey a site, then they want to get the right data without having to send them back, or perhaps if they're doing a visual survey of an industrial plot, then they bring that video feed back, and perhaps it's not precisely what they were looking for. So what would be good is to bring them on board and actually direct them, almost like a remote director, if you like, to find out exactly what they're actually after. So it saves time for the pilot, reduces costs of sort of flying someone out there again. This can go on into the future as well, whereby when we've got more automated platforms for drones, is that we'd be able to do remote surveys via the same platform. But I won't go into that too much because it's still a bit blue sky.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe we'll have another podcast in the future at some stage.
Yeah.
And what happens with the footage after? Am I right in thinking it can be sort of saved and downloaded and that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, that's right. So the minute the stream is finished, it saves onto a cloud record. So you're able to actually go back and have a look at your records once the stream is finished as well. So for public safety, it's good for evidence, good for training, and security-wise, you're able to share that record as well for perhaps other purposes. And construction is the obvious. You've instantly got the video data without having to upload it to a Dropbox or sending it over some other cloud-based storage solution. So we're actually at the moment we're doing I guess you could call it Dronestream 2.0, where we've reacted to feedback from customers, and we are looking at how we can redesign the online portal and the apps as well to actually make that even easier. Because sometimes you look at a process that you're carrying out and it may take 5 seconds, but if you're doing that every day as a commercial operator, those 5 seconds add up, and if you can reduce, if you can make it workflows as easy as possible, then time savings are key. So much to see over the next couple of months, I think.
Nice. And then I'm going to have to ask you a bit of a plebeian question, but because I don't understand loads of the tech side of things. You spoke about low latency earlier. Is that dependent on the internet quality from the device you're flying from the device that they're streaming on, or how do you get the sort of the lowest latency?
So the low latency is reserved for the enterprise package, but the system we use is actually guaranteed 2 to 3 seconds of latency. So providing, let's say, for example, your standard streaming method, which is free to use on our free subscription. If the bandwidth in the local area is poor, then perhaps the latency will go up to 30 seconds, 40 seconds. But with the low latency system, is if the bandwidth is too low to actually perform the 2 to 3 seconds of latency, then that would it just wouldn't work. Simple as that. So and we've tested it in moderate 4G conditions, and it works seamlessly. So we're quite happy with that.
And I guess that's something they'll just get better and better as 5G rolls out and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then with 5G as well, you can send more data out via these methods. So that means better resolution as well as greater speed. So 5G is certainly a big one for us.
Yeah, that'll be exciting times for you guys, I'm sure.
Definitely.
And then you've, I'm right in thinking you got back from the Ukraine late last night. Is that right?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
How was the trip out there?
Yeah, really good. So our office in Kiev we've recently moved into a bigger office, and it used to be a former rocket engine manufacturing facility. So
cool.
Really, really cool. The office space is certainly exactly what we're after for the next iteration of Dronestream, which I really want to tell you about, but it involves some hardware partnerships.
Okay.
So the larger office is to accommodate for that particular hardware.
Okay, so, well that sounds exciting. My next question was going to be what does 2020 have in store for Dronestream? So how much can you tell me? How much can't you tell me?
So there is some major news about to break, but I'm sworn to secrecy.
Fair enough.
Until all is signed off. But in summary, we're about to close a funding round to enable organizations to work with drone technology in a more seamless way.
Great.
Which will allow for the industry to move forward with integrating their solutions without having to pry apart the processes they're currently using and causing too much internal disruption. Because my experience in the public sector, especially, is whenever you bring in something new and innovative, it means you've got to destroy or perhaps
Yeah.
alter what they've been used to for a long time.
Yeah.
And actually changing habits is really difficult in some, especially larger organizations. And what we want to do is actually minimize that disruption. And it's it helps integrate more fluidly new technology, because drone industry is moving very fast year by year, and the more fluid approach that we take to integrating these systems, whether it's hardware or software, then the faster the industry will be able to move.
Okay, so will be an exciting year, and we'll look forward to hearing some more news if and when we're allowed to hear it.
Definitely, absolutely. I'll definitely keep you posted.
Sounds good. So thinking a bit more generally about drones and the drone industry, you sort of hinted at it there that it's growing really quickly, and that it could be very, very exciting for those that are involved or want to be involved. What do you think sort of, it's a broad question, but if you can be as specific as possible, what do you think the future holds for drones and the drone industry?
I think one of the major positives is that it's not stagnant, and the roadmap is clear to see what needs to be done in order to fulfill the dream of aerial automation, urban air mobility, among so many more. And I think over the past couple of years, we've seen the period of hype, and now we're on a more sustainable path of actually digging deeper into the problems we're looking to solve within the industry verticals. I don't know if you've ever seen the Gartner hype cycle.
Oh, I don't think I have. No.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's worth a Google. It sort of starts as a peak of inflated expectations, which is, you can imagine, a couple of years ago, drones are going to fill the sky in 5 years. Everyone's going to receive Amazon deliveries by drone, and VCs were throwing money at these companies, and then it fell into what they call on the graph, the trough of delusion.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah. It's like the realization as these VCs start to slowly see these startups crash, like, oh God, okay, this isn't moving as fast as we'd like. And then I think where we're at now is actually what the graph indicates is the slope of enlightenment. I love these names.
They're great, aren't they? They're very well named.
Yeah. And I think now we're really starting to define what we're looking at with these industries, and being very specific about it. So there's
Harry, can you just repeat that last bit? I think we just lost you for a sec there. Can you just repeat that last bit? Thank you.
Yeah. So I think now we're actually looking at, as an industry as a whole, we're actually digging into and refining where the problems are and solving those. I think now we've refined that. Now we're outside of the hype zone. We'll really start to see more buy-in from organizations, because there's less sort of blue sky thinking and more this is going to save us money.
Fantastic. I think I probably know the answer to this next question, but I'll ask it anyway. You sound like you're pretty optimistic about the future. Are you worried that legislation might hold us back, or that the general perception of drones might hold us back? Or, I mean, you sound pretty optimistic. Is that fair?
Yeah, I am optimistic. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the regulation, you can sort of see it as fair enough, because, Britain especially has an excellent safety record in aviation. And if we're to suddenly start throwing these devices into the sky, it's obviously going to cause humongous problems. And the thing is, it doesn't just end with air law as well. It actually carries over to privacy concerns and environmental concerns, noise pollution. The list is endless. So although, let's give, for example, the Civil Aviation Authority a sort of put the brakes on a few more dreamy ideas, then I think that allows us to lay the ground law with as far as realistic sort of expectations are concerned, and really work on those refining problems. and not just throw it up there and hope for the best, and then realize, okay, yeah, this is more proactive than reactionary, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And in a crowded airspace like we have in the UK, I think certainly it's part of me is biting my lip, like, yeah, but wouldn't it be great to have all this this functioning tomorrow? But yeah, we've got to be realistic. I mean, to give an example, I'm originally from the pharmaceutical industry, and sometimes you'll have a fantastic idea, and you'll take this through to management, and you'll go, okay, yeah, if we do this tomorrow, we'll be able to do this, and that.
Yeah.
And you'd run away with this great idea. But then the quality department, management would come back to you and say, well, in actual fact, we need to put this in place. We need to change this regulation. We need this standard operating procedure needs approving, blah, 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 blah. And you're dying inside. But by the end of it, you've actually got a better result than what you would have done if you implemented it 24 hours after you suggested the idea. So, I think as frustrating as all us dreamers think it may be, it's certainly the right way to be doing it.
It's a very good way of looking at it. So going back to your the hype cycle, if we're thinking about the timescale, when are we going to reach the that plateau of productivity? When do you think that might be? Is that going to be in next year, 5 years, 10 years? What do you reckon?
5 to 10 years, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we'll start to see major buy-in between now and 3 years' time. I think from large organizations, and that's when they may publish the results of their drone projects, and then other companies will go, oh, hey, our partners or our competitors, they're using drones at the moment, and X, Y, and Z, they've managed to deliver these results. So we definitely need to jump on this bandwagon, and it'll have that sort of viral effect from then on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just sitting tight through, number one, lack of understanding, and number two, they want to see more buy-in before they jump on board. But we're certainly moving in the right direction, and like I said, it's certainly not stagnant.
Good, excellent. And then I'm not sure whether you've managed to catch up, but we had Mark Boyt on last week, the CEO of Drone Safe Register, and I think your answer to this question might disagree with his, but we'll see. Do you think there'll always be a place for a drone pilot, or do you think at some stage it will become fully automated?
I think there will always be a place for some form of drone pilot. Yes, because although I'm conflicted in that, because I'm all about automation, and I think, well, pulling the human out of the loop means that it's another efficiency saving. But if we're looking at how automated technology is unraveling in pretty much any aspect, like for example, cars, for instance, we can't put 100% faith in the systems as of yet. There always needs to be a human in the loop at some point. So because the machine isn't 100% reliable 100% of the time. So in a factory, for instance, it's no big deal, because if it stops working, then the plant stops running and no one gets hurt. But in technology like this, the same as driverless cars, if it stops working, people are going to die. Yeah. So it's plain and simple, and as dark as that. Yeah. So that's why we need the human in the loop in order to ensure that it's functioning correctly, or even a sort of as a backup to actually fulfill a safe flight. Yeah. They don't necessarily have to mother it, if you like, but if they can seize control of the system effectively, then I think those contingencies are really important as far as automated vehicles go.
So I guess really just sort of just how planes work these days. Really, the pilots don't do a whole lot of flying unless they need to. Really.
Yeah. I think where the efficiency is going to be more sooner than you think is going to be the pilot won't have to go to the site. They won't have to pack their thermos flask and go to a cold, rainy field. they'll be able to open a laptop
Yeah.
and work from head office. So I think that's the more realistic interpretation of removing the pilot from the equation.
That sounds all right to me. I reckon flying the drone in my pajamas, I could get on board with that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. So we'll just finish with some hopefully easy questions, but we'll see if that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
So first one, what is your favorite drone to fly and why?
It's got to be the Mavic, 100% the Mavic. I love the Inspire 2, just because it's a beast and it handles a lot of rough weather. But as far as wind's concerned, but the portability of the Mavic and the half an hour flight time, and it's still quite a stable system. I think 100% the Mavic, and it never fails, especially the Mavic 2 Enterprise. It never fails to get the wow, the wow factor.
Yeah.
You'll show someone who's not perhaps familiar with drones, and you'll tell them that has a half an hour flight time, or you can fit this in your bag, and it's got a searchlight on it, it's got a megaphone. To them, a lot of people still see drones as the thing you buy down the petrol station that has like a 5-minute flight time.
Correct.
And, a bit gimmicky. But when you educate them on what something like a Mavic can do, and they see how light and portable it is, then that's I love it for that, for sure.
Good choice. I'm with you on the Mavic. I'm with you there. And your favorite place to fly and why?
Favorite place to fly? That's an interesting question. Do you know what? It's been a while since I've actually flown just for leisure. But there's a place not far from where I live in Oxfordshire, where it's woodland. It's quite thick woodland, and there's sort of the sort of environment that you're in looks like you could be in Canada. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you sort of got the tall trees as far as the eye could see, and it's really remote. A lot of wildlife around as well, and it's just a really nice place to fly. And you can get some shots there, and turn around and pretend you're on holiday.
Tag it as Canada on Instagram, and then you're fine.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
And then what's been your most challenging flight to date, and why?
Most challenging flight, probably that boat, the boat flight, actually. I did a bit of research beforehand. I had the Inspire 2, what people can share about landing and taking off from a boat.
Yeah.
We were on effectively a reconditioned fishing trawler for filming. It was a film called The Flood, and we were taking off on a very flat surface off the back, and you could have landed a helicopter on this back of this fishing trawler. It was huge,
right?
But as the sea started to get quite choppy, the boat was moving around a lot from its anchor, and obviously the GPS is routed to a solid position, and as the boat sort of jerked forward slowly, the drone sort of skidded backwards as it was landing, and chipped a bit of paint off the railing, shall we say, and cracked a few blades. But I was just relieved that it managed to land on deck. And I was talking to the captain afterwards, and he said that they've had a few wildlife movies created off the back of this boat. And when they've operated their drones, every single one, at least 3 or 4 that he can count, have ended up in the sea. So
you were doing all right.
I was quite grateful for that. And some of which were in sort of areas which would have damaged the environment if the lipos had started to degrade. So they had to send down divers, which you can imagine was quite expensive to pick up these drones. So
I bet. And I'd like this question personally. If you could film somewhere or something that you've never filmed before, what would it be? And you don't even have to worry about planning or whether you're actually allowed to film it or anything like that. Just anything you want.
Oh yes, I love that question.
Yeah,
I'd probably like to film around New York, just because of the sheer expanse of it. If rules were not of an issue, then the amount of I love urban environments, and I love photography and cinematography around urban environments, and I think perhaps a nighttime shot with an Inspire 2
Yes.
would be great around the New York area. You can just imagine, providing you set the settings right, the type of visuals you could get from that.
That's a good choice. That's interesting. Mark chose London last week, and we've had New York this week. So it's interesting that you both chosen cities that are otherwise very difficult to fly in. So
that's it. Yeah, it's the forbidden fruit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The one everyone wants is
Exactly.
the urban environments,
Yeah.
the cities. But who knows? We'll never get there.
And last question: if you could make one change to the industry, what would it be?
That's a good question. So, personally, I think we need to create some form of group where the sole purpose is to encourage collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that the more and more organizations that I speak to within the drone industry is that they're trying to reinvent the wheel with a lot of aspects to their perhaps hardware startup or software startup. And you'll have heard of someone else trying to solve that exact problem that they've spent the past couple of months to try and overcome.
Yeah.
And it's not giving them any competitive advantage other than the fact it's just kind of something that they need to offer customers, or something that they need to do in order to move on to the next step. And a lot of these organizations aren't competitors. They're not competing in any way. So by helping them, if we had some sort of a collaborative group whereby, they sort of, you go to them with a problem and you say, hey, you know what, there's a startup doing X. Perhaps if, you help them do this, then they'll help you do that. And by doing that, it moves the industry forward and sort of speeds up the integration into society and reduces that silo effect that the whole industry is facing. Like, perfect example is Amazon. A lot of what they're doing is, of course, highly innovative. They would have spent a lot of money in R&D in order to get to that stage. But I'm sure there's some very minute aspects which are probably common knowledge in the sort of tech circles that they operate within, that perhaps would help out a smaller startup and better the industry moving forward. It doesn't even have to be a giant like Amazon. It could just be another startup like ourselves or whoever that we could collaborate on something in order to just better the end result for the user, and therefore pushing the industry forward.
It's a great answer. I like the sound of that a lot. And then just before we go, I'll link it below. But for anyone that likes the sound of Dronestream and wants to find out a little bit more and maybe give it a try, can you explain how they can do that?
Yeah. They can either email me at harry@dronestream.app, or they can visit us on our website, which is www.drone-stream.com. And there's some information on there. There'll be a lot of changes to the platform over the coming months, and we'll be changing a lot of our website as well. By all means, get in touch, and it'd be great to help solve your problems.
Fantastic. As I said, that website will be linked below, so do check that out if you're interested. Harry, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It's great to chat. Very inspiring. Thanks, and very exciting. And I wish you the best for 2020. I hope it goes well.
Same to you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Harry. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that does it for episode 2 of Droning On with Altius Images. Thank you very much to Harry and to Dronestream for their time today. It was amazing to chat. Really, really interesting stuff. As I said, if you want to check out their website, it is linked below in the description, and you'll be able to find them on social media easily enough as well. For those listening to the podcast for the first time, we also release a Drone Positive podcast every single Monday, and that focuses on positive drone stories, as well as the Droning On series, which we release on a Wednesday. So do subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode of either of those. We will be back on Monday with the next episode of Drone Positive, so do check that one out. Please get in touch with us on social media. We are at Altius Images on Twitter and Instagram, and you can also find us easy enough on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All of the links for our channels are below. We'd love to hear from you, so please do reach out. Thank you for listening, guys. Please subscribe to and share the podcast so that we can spread it as far and wide as possible. We'll see you on Monday for Drone Positive. But for now, fly safe, folks. Bye-bye. Bye.